What's going on is Anton from antondaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. I want to have a discussion really quickly from a business perspective, and I guess we can talk culturally because you can't really talk culturally about hip hop or rap music without looking at it from a business perspective. But I want to talk a little bit, and I'm going to share this article with you guys so that we can really have this conversation in truth about the recent revelations and the court documents that has been revealed to show several different things in this whole Drake process. Now, for those of us that's been living under a rock and we have to refresh your memory, obviously we know that Drake and Kendrick Lamar had a battle, and it took over the whole music industry. And lo and behold, obviously we had the Super Bowl with Kendrick Lamar, which personally I thought was a little bit lackluster. I'm not really for all of the Black Lives Matters content and stuff like that. But more importantly, Kendrick Lamar got the opportunity to do the Super Bowl, and so salute to him. Outside of that, though, Drake had already previously filed a lawsuit, and people had took that as a massive L because they said that Drake just couldn't take his loss like a man, and so on and so forth. I thought that Kendrick Lamar ultimately could be declared the winner because Not Like Us was the biggest hit, but I thought that Drake had the best diss record, personally. Something that I wanted to hear, something that when he switched the beat three different times and all of that, that was for me. But again, I know that a lot of people don't consider me a hip hop aficionado because I don't create content around hip hop or address every single beef or do album reviews, but we all like music. We all love hip hop. And I'm not going to switch my content to do that just to be able to justify giving my opinion. But more importantly, I like to look at things from a business perspective. And this is where I really shine. Over on this article in particular, and this is courtesy of BBC. I know a lot of y'all think of BBC a little bit differently, but it is a very, very valid news source. And I want to go over this really quickly with you guys to see exactly what this is. And the reason that I want to do that is because people think that Drake's real lawsuit or what he was doing was against Kendrick Lamar. I don't think so. I think that Drake was really trying to focus on his bag and also at the same time possibly take down the music industry. And if there's anybody that was powerful enough to do it, maybe it was him or Taylor Swift. But this is courtesy of the BBC that says the court gives Drake access to Kendrick's contracts, which is major. And this is a part of the discovery process. It says Drake has been given a green light to access sensitive record company documents in his ongoing defamation case over Kendrick Lamar's song Not Like Us. The star had asked for copies of Kendrick Lamar's recording contract, as well as information on salaries and bonuses for senior executives at his record label at Universal. Now, why is this important? Why would he want to know bonus information and salaries? Because one of the things that has been, reported, or one of the things that's being accused of UMG is that they're doing the same thing that they did to Drake and Kendrick Lamar, that they did to Big and Pac and so on and so forth. Basically, that they're trying to incentivize each other to tear each other down, and they are promoting Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us unfairly, as well as other things in order to try to capitalize off of and hedge their bets against Drake because Drake doesn't need to be the only star that's generating the majority of the revenue over at UMG. So they're using him. Basically, this is what he's saying, right? In a nutshell, in a summary from a C student's perspective, is that they're using him to continuously build up other artists, but at his detriment, all right? And that's why he wants to know, who's getting a bonus as a result of what's happening? What are the salaries of the people that's making money off of this? Who's helping who? And I also want to know his contract because I want to know what incentives that he has and what you guys are doing on the back end because we really need to get all of the cards out on the table. It says that Drake is accusing the company of defamation by allowing Lamar's song to be published and promoted, claiming that it spread false and malicious narrative that he is a P word, right? Universal filed to dismiss the case last month, calling it a logical attempt to silence Lamar's creative expression. Imagine that. Imagine your record label that owns and promotes both of you guys' music, making money on both sides. Goes on to say it also asks for a pause in the evidence gathering process known as discovery while that request was considered. However, on Wednesday, the judge ordered that the discovery should continue. Michael Gottlieb, Drake's lead lawyer, celebrated the decision in a statement to the BBC. Now it's time to see what UMG was so desperately trying to hide, he says. According to the court filing, Drake's team is seeking documents including all contracts between UMG and Kendrick Lamar and the salaries and incentives plans for senior record label staff going back to 2020. They want to know everything. They want to know what the plan was, if this was always in the works, if it was an unfair advantage, who's making money off of it, the whole 9 yards. So this is a major, huge victory, and it also goes against UMG's request to ultimately dismiss the case. They're not having it. UMG has objected to the request, saying that it is costly and time-consuming process of gathering the commercially sensitive information was an undue burden when the case could still be dismissed. Here's the key. Here's the catch. There's also been several different credible sources. I'm going to go to the one that's easiest to be able to cite, but there are several different sites that are reporting, including Media Takeout, that Universal is now offering, now that the judge has declined to dismiss the case and is granting Drake and his team the ultimate opportunity to see behind the curtains in the discovery process. They're saying that Drake is reportedly getting offered a $250 million settlement lawsuit. Goes on to say, if you thought the rap beef between Drake and Kendrick Lamar was all about bars and billboards, nah, that's not really it. It says that Drake attended a game between the Houston Rockets and the Cleveland Cavaliers at the Toyota Center on March 16th. Everybody's been seeing him down in Texas and Houston. And they saying, according to an insider, his lawsuit against UMG may be on the verge of a quiet settlement, and the numbers being thrown around is basically in the hundreds of millions of dollars. Say Drake filed a bombshell defamation lawsuits against UMG, claiming that the music giant used bots and payola to artificially boost Kendrick Lamar's hit "Not Like Us," the song that's now being called the biggest track in the world. Drake's legal team is arguing that Universal, which backs Kendrick, manipulated the numbers to hurt his reputation and distort the competition. So basically, they're offering $250 million to settle the suit. And the question that we now have to ask is it enough? Is it enough? Because who's to say that Drake is interested in settling at this point? Maybe he feels as though this is a lowball offer. And not only that, maybe he has so much money, and again, I'm just speculating here and I'm just giving my thoughts. Maybe he has so much money and so many resources at this point that it's not really just about getting a payout. It's more or less about taking down what we know as the biggest entity in the music industry, or maybe it's double, a two-way street in which he's not only trying to crush them or get out of this, but also remove himself from his recording contract because he is much more profitable by himself instead of being controlled by a major, which he don't really even need at this point, right? Some people argue, he didn't need a major. I remember when Academics was reporting and he was saying that there are people that are at the music label that was saying that they can't wait until Drake had dropped his next project because he's going to see that they were the ones that were pushing him instead of him really having the motion that he had. Obviously, we seen the album with him and Party Next Door, and that crushed what that narrative was. But I'm curious as to what you guys think. Do you think that Drake is actually going to win this lawsuit? Do you also think that the music industry and UMG, Universal Music Group, are the ones that are manipulating things so that they can possibly hedge a bet to ensure that in the case that anything was to ever happen to Drake, knock on wood, or in the case that Drake ever removes himself from his contract, or if they ever tried to lowball him and he didn't resign, that they had another star that they were promoting that they can ultimately make a lot of money off of in order to continue to keep the lights on. Let me know what y'all think inside of the chat. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. I'm going to holler at you guys later. Let me know. I need to know what y'all thoughts are. And remove your bias when you comment.